Welcome to Beatless Tuning. This is an app based on the principles of just intonation, in which we are trying to train your ears and not your eyes with tuning. Let's take a look at the first section. The first section is intervals. You can choose any of the intervals, including the barbershop seventh or the harmonic lowered seventh. You can choose any root, and you can also choose your octave. Second section deals with chords. You have triads, again, any root of a chord, the different type of chords. You can select different pitches to work on, different inversions to work on, and through this section you have the capability of muting tones. Here with seventh chords, same type of thing. Any root, any type of chord, and through this section, this is where you can start to manipulate some of the different types of seventh chords. In the third section, the challenge section is a place in which you can work as a student and a teacher. It unlocks each different interval one at a time. And then in the note lab, this is where you can have as much fun blending and mixing different chord qualities together. You can work in just intervals. You can work in highly complex chords, but you have any note that you want, and just by using this note lab, any type of creation is possible. Now let's take a look at intervals. In the interval section, you have, like we said, any interval to choose. Let's start with the octave. We're going to go and choose a B flat octave in the B flat 4. And right now you're hearing two tones. And you have the choice now to manipulate it by 2 cents or 5 cents. In doing this, you get to hear the sounds. Now let's move the dial. But what you're doing now is training your ear to remove those beats of sound. With this section, you can also work on any interval. Let's choose the perfect fifth, and let's do it in a different octave. So here's your two notes. This is perfectly tuned to just intonation. There's the F by itself. Now let's go ahead and manipulate it a little bit. Let's raise it 2 cents. And we'll slowly bring this and manipulate it. And there's another perfectly tuned fifth. One of the fun things to do is always to work on the major third. We'll choose a lower octave, but there it starts perfectly tuned. Now let's slowly make it to be equal tempered, which takes it to almost 0 here. There's almost an equal tempered third. Wow, that sounds out of tuned up my ears. Next thing we can do is tune by ear. This takes away the number. And so you're given a pitch, and you now have to figure out, do you go high? Do you go low? Let's listen and make this adjustment without any number reference. Do you hear it getting slower? So we get it close, and then we'll fine tune it with the dial. Now let's check our pitch. Oh, we got 0.64, less than 1 cent away from being perfectly in tune with just intonation. And now you can see you can work on any interval you want in any octave and just make this a laboratory for you to learn from. Let's check out the triad builder. With this, again, you can choose any root that you're working on. Let's try an E flat major chord tuned to just intonation. Notice the third is lowered, the fifth is almost 2 cents. With this, you can check different notes, play them one at a time. And what I love about this is if you just want to single out the third, you can play it all by itself and really work on what does a third sound like just by being minus 13.7. You could play that as a unison. Then you can mute that tone and play it on your own or sing it on your own with the root and fifth. And then there's, of course, all the notes at the same time. Now, let's take a look at the tune by ear function. You can tune any of these notes. If you want to work on the third, you can work on the fifth. But just by tuning by ear, it will tell you at the end how close you were. Let's check out now the seventh chords. In the seventh chords, we have the ability to do major seventh, minor seventh, dominant sevenths. We can also just choose which note of the chord we want to work on. Here is a dominant seventh. We can adjust the third if we wanted to. Take it out of tune. Hear what that sounds like and try to move it back in tune. And through this section, we can also work on different pitches one at a time. You can add in your own note. You can mute the note that you're working on. But there is a fully dominant seventh with the seventh lowered 31.2 cents. Yeah, it's a fun place to mess around and to learn what some different chord qualities sound like when they're tuned to the harmonic series. As you can see, you can just work with the fifth, make adjustments wherever you'd like. And of course, there's also the tune by ear function. Now let's move on to the challenge mode. In the challenge mode, it unlocks. Notice that a few of these intervals have locks on them. When you get here for the first time, all of them will be locked, and it takes you on a path from consonant to dissonant intervals. It starts with a unison, and you can choose 5 questions per test, 10 or 15. It has a timing, which of course makes it a little bit harder if you have to go faster. And with this, you then have, in this case, 5 questions. I'm just going to fast forward through this, but the timer counts down for you, and you are then adjusting the button to see how close you can get. Well, look at this. Because I fast forwarded, I got a 0 out of 5, but you can see that it gives you 11.7s away, and question number 3 is 19.3 cents away, so you have to adjust it and find that. Then you can, of course, brag to your friends or send this to your teacher, but you write in your name, you can write in your grade, your period, and then if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you're going to see the share button. And the share button then opens up the ability to send this as an email to your teacher or whoever you might want to send, who you might be wanting to brag about your progress. So now taking a look at the lab mode, this is an interesting place because it can be as basic as you want. You can just choose any note that you want in the octaves that we have here, or you can work on small intervals. Let's try this. Let's just try an A, and then here, let's take a look at what we might look at. What interval can we go for? You know what? Let's just go with a major third. When you select it, notice it's equal tempered, and you can make your adjustments to this and however you might want to be working on tuning. Let's find a just intonation major third. That's pretty close. So if we want to be working on that, that's great. But notice it has add a note. I added 3 notes, 4 notes, 5 notes. Let's say you're working on a piece that has bitonality with it, and you have 2 chords, 2 major chords built on top of each other. You can easily add this and manipulate the tuning as you see fit. So this is beatless tuning. As you can see, it has some very basic functions and it has some very high-end functions, and I hope you have fun working on it in any way that you wish.